Hi guys, my name's Marek and I'm going to talk a little about the topic of experiences abroad. Inevitably, your perspective of a foreign land will vary depending on where you are originally from. But in my case, I can shed some light on the differences between Spain, Germany and Britain. My understanding of culture shock is that it refers to aspects of a foreign society that are radically different to your own. Having lived in Spain for almost 13 years now, the siesta is still something that sometimes catches me off guard. London is a 24/7 city. Shops are always open. Nowadays, I still sometimes rock up to events or shops between 2 and 5, only to find them empty or closed. Another custom, which is a culture shock for me, is the loudness of Spanish culture. People often speak very loudly, interrupt and speak over each other. There always seems to be an excuse to celebrate something with fireworks at the crack of dawn, and this is epitomized by the mascleta of Fallas in Valencia, which to me is like being dropped into a war zone. Spanish greetings can also be a culture shock to those from Britain. In informal settings, men shake hands, and most greetings involving women will incur a kiss on both cheeks. For me, this has always seemed a bit OTT. Going around a long table of people and having to kiss all the women on the cheeks takes forever. And during the pandemic, it was downright dangerous, if you ask me. The Spanish are a lot more touchy-feely than Brits are. Another cultural difference is the time people in Spain spend outdoors, be that eating or on the beach or in the mountains. This is down to the great weather that provides decent temperatures for most of the year. Bars, cafes, and outdoor terraces are sprawling with people year-round. As it's always raining in the UK, this makes this kind of lifestyle in Britain a bit more complicated. Hanging out with the locals is something that has occurred in drips and drabs for me. I've never really fully integrated into Spanish society and have found myself gravitating more to other Brits and foreigners. There was a while where I went out salsa dancing and I hung out with locals a lot, and it was cool. Not really any different to hanging out with Brits though. But there's no doubt that most of the time I feel more comfortable speaking my mind in English, hence why we generally tend to gravitate towards people that speak our own language. At the end of the day, in most cases, people are people. We are all concerned about the same things: food, entertainment, money, relationships, and health. The food in Spain is great. Most of the time, it's easy to find somewhere good and reasonably priced to eat. One of my favorite places to eat in Valencia is at the restaurant El Viñedo. They have the biggest portions of bravas I have ever seen, and their chicken breast chivito has never disappointed. Most Spaniards I speak to consider the food in Britain to be horrible, but I would beg to differ. I would agree that there are many tourist traps, especially in city centres, but if you know where to go, there are infinite cultural delights to savour from the UK and from around the world. But eating out on the regular is no doubt going to cost you an arm and a leg. Hitchhiking, good idea? Why or why not? In the good old days, I imagine hitchhiking was a viable way of getting around on the cheap. But nowadays, with all the nutters out there, I wouldn't take the risk personally. Transportation is relatively cheap these days, so unless I found myself in an emergency situation, I wouldn't want to put myself in a position where I'd have to depend on someone to give me a lift somewhere. Especially if that were to some far-flung place that was off the beaten track. I'd at least share my live WhatsApp location with family or friends. Okay guys, that's all I've got for you for today's video. Please like and subscribe to my channel and support me on my Patreon.